is you actually carry the presence and power of the kingdom with you. And here's what I mean by that. Just a couple of concepts we're going to put together. First concept is this. Jesus' measures of the kingdom, they seem to me to be different than our ideas of what the kingdom's like. Jesus said the kingdom is present and the kingdom comes and it comes with power. He outlined some specific instances of this that we've talked about throughout this material. He said, for instance, in Luke 9:2, he said, go heal people, anoint them, and announce the presence of the kingdom. In other words, like healing was going to show people that the kingdom was there. It was a proof of everything that he had said. In Luke chapter 10, when he sends 70 people out, he says almost the exact same thing. He says, go heal people and declare that the kingdom is here. In Luke chapter 17, verse 20 through 21, he says the kingdom of God, it doesn't come with observation. You don't just look and say, oh, here it is. Oh, wait, look, there, oh, no, it's over there. He says it doesn't come like that because the kingdom of God, it's within you. And his measure of the kingdom is when somehow the power of that kingdom actually breaks forth in this present now. Well, it leads me to this next idea. Number 2, our measures of the kingdom are often, they center around Nichols and Noses. They often center around how many people were in the seats at a church and how much money they gave. And I really ask, is that the sum total of the kingdom? Because we don't see those measures really anywhere in the New Testament. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm for church services. I think it's great to be around a lot of people. It's inspirational. It's encouraging. We meet people. We have a family. And I think it takes money to do incredible things. You can do some amazing things with money. But if somehow our measure of the kingdom has come down to how many people are sitting in rows during 1 hour on Sunday morning, we might have missed the point, and we might have missed one of the messages that Jesus came to actually change. It's interesting to me because now we're actually at churches, instead of counting other things, we're counting people who are online at the time that we're doing our service. And while I've not met any pastor who would say, hey, the sum total of the kingdom is how many people gave money and how many people showed up, I don't think any of them would reduce it to that. But then practically speaking, remember, our actions always reveal what we truly believe regardless of what we say. Those seem to be the things that we actually act upon, the Nichols and Noses. This leads me to a third idea. What if our measures were a little different? What if we started measuring things like Jesus measured them? In other words, what if our measures were more like Christ? What if we measured how many people were healed, and then how many of those people were taking the healing power of the kingdom with them? What if we found a way to measure the full scope of salvation? How many people experienced and felt forgiven and were actually forgiving other people? How many people were physically healed of something radical in their life, whether it was an instantaneous iomai or whether it was a therapeuo, where they chose to walk out a lifestyle choices? Why aren't there barometers on the wall in churches that don't just measure money, but actually ones that measure lost weight or lives changed on a physical level? Why is it that we don't measure spiritual freedom? How many people have walked out of bondage and are experiencing something? Like the guy who was the demoniac, the disciples met after they came off the boat. Why don't we measure that? Why don't we measure physical safety? For instance, is crime down in the neighborhood where the churches are and where people are praying? Are there ways to measure that? Because that was a part of sozo, that Jesus actually brings physical safety. And then think about this. When's the last time you saw someone who was risen from the dead? What if our